I move.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of D.Gerv and Big Mo. This is Ricky Hampton coming to you on a Thursday night special edition of the D.Gerv and Big Mo show. We're hoping everybody's here to check us out because Paul and Derrick, we got a really good show in store for tonight.
Yeah, we're excited. I don't know where you're at, Ricky, but it's Wednesday night, I think. You might be in some other part of the world. I'm not sure, maybe Australia, but yeah, we want to apologize for Monday. We had some technical difficulties, and we get around that. Everything, things happen, but we're very excited about the show tonight. Great guest in Pace and Nico Mannion.
I just want to say hello to everyone. Before even we start, I just want to say, Paul, thank you first of all. Because to have these two guys come back, we had extenuating circumstances, and I told Paul and Ricky, and they know I'm very much an optimist. So even to be able to get these guys back tells a lot about their character and yours as well, Paul. So I thank you, and I just want to tell our listeners, how you doing? I'm ready to get it on.
Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting time, guys. It looks like we're on the cusp of the NBA coming back. There was some news today I thought was really interesting. Actually broke last night. Avery Bradley has decided that he is not going to join the Lakers when they go to Orlando. And I'm wondering what you guys think about his absence. Will it be a big deal? I know they're thinking about bringing J.R. Smith in. Paul, what are you thinking there, Derrick?
Well, there's a couple other guys that have pulled out too. Trevor Ariza has pulled out. David Bertans has pulled out. I think the deadline is today, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. If you're going to pull out, you need to pull out by today to get your. They're not. To NBA's credit, they're not going to hold that against you. They understand it's a unique situation. And you got to take care of yourself and your family first. And to the NBA's credit, they're taking that into consideration. But there is a time limit. And the guys that have opted out, you need to decide that today. So it gives the NBA and the other teams they need time to decide what to do. Do they need to add a JR or someone like that with the people they're missing? It's going to affect teams. And also, once they get started, even if they're in the bubble, people are going to come down. They're going to be tested positive for the virus, and they're going to have to go into quarantine. Now, hopefully it won't be in the middle of a series with a main player, but if it is, that's just the way it is, and that's the way it has to be. At least that's what I think.
Hey, this is 2020, man. You guys know this has just been an odd year anyway. So this is just the conclusion of the NBA as far as basketball. It's been kind of a strange season, but it's just been a weird year, Paul. You know that. So we just move forward. But when you lose guys like that, Ricky, it's extenuating circumstances once again. I don't think there's any human being that would question Avery Bradley's decision. Bertans and the other guys I can't really speak on. I'm sure we'll find out more. But when you're talking about a guy with a 6-year-old kid that has the immune deficiency problem, I mean, there's no way you can question that. There's no way around it. So I'm commending Avery Bradley, and it shows you how this is right here is a perfect lesson about life and basketball. The Lakers are the favorites, actually, to win it all. But when it comes back to real life, it puts everything in perspective. So for Avery to put his family first over any risk at all, I commend him, and I commend the other guys as well for sticking to their guns.
Yeah, I agree. And, psychologically, I think you as a team, as coaching staff and as players, you got to just take it as, hey, someone got hurt, someone can't play, and just move on, because that's what you would do in the regular season. And if one of your players, no matter if it's one of your starters or backups, ends up testing positive and is going to be out for 2 weeks, you have to treat that psychologically as maybe he sprained his ankle and he can't play. That's how that's how you need to get over that. And there's a famous saying, right? It is what it is.
Yeah, right. Simply put.
I want to kind of add on to that. You said no players would have a problem with a guy like Avery Bradley. We understand that. What about some of the other guys who may not have injury issues, or just don't want to be dealing with the possibility of the COVID-19? They don't want to deal with it in any kind of way. Will any guys have animosity towards something like that, Paul?
Some will. Some won't. Some will. Some won't. But that's just the way it is, and with the circumstances the way they are, I don't think any professional athlete, if they're a true person, will have anybody will hold anybody have a problem with them if they don't feel safe themselves playing. And family is always first. But you know what? In this, some teams, some teams going after a championship, someone bails out on it. Some players could treat it as a bailout. What do you think, D?
Hey, Paul, you played longer than me in the NBA, 12 years. You've dealt with a lot of sensitive guys. Damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? So at the end of the day, whatever they think, big deal. This is a personal choice this year, Ricky. This is back to something that's out of our control, something we've never dealt with. So no one can tell you how to feel about it as a person. No one can tell you how to deal with it. Everyone has their own ways of dealing with situations. Some people are still going to the clubs, out to the bars. Others are not. So some people are trying to do what's best for themselves and those around them. And you can question it all you want, but how can you get angry at someone that's trying to stay safe, wants to be on this earth a while, wants to contribute to society, and wants their families to live long enough to be able to do the same as well?
And we're gonna find out, as well as I do, sports, professional sports especially, it's a physical game, but it's also a mental game. And the teams and the coaches that get over that mental part, whatever that is, it's the virus, it's someone not playing, it's an injury, whoever can get their team over that problem, whatever that might be, and deal with it the best is going to be the successful team. That's why Phil Jackson was such a great coach. Dennis Rodman goes to Vegas and disappears for 3 days, and he smooths it over, and they end up winning anyway. So it's going to test some of these teams psychologically as much as physically.
Paul, Ricky, this tests the players. You find out a lot about the players. People want to know about behind the scenes, Paul, and that's important. Now you find out what guys have been doing during the virus, right? Because guys have had time. You knew there's an opportunity. There was a very high chance that they would be playing at some point. So which guys took care of their bodies? Which guys really? I looked at, I hate to say it, bring up Jokic, because I see that Nikola Jokic had a little problem, and he's not a little problem, big problem. We'll get into that next week, possibly about the club situation with Novak Djokovic. So that situation. But everybody's going to have problems, dealing with it differently. If I look at Avery, I look at Davis Bertans, we don't know what they deal with behind the scenes. So all of these guys, I think they're doing the best thing. It's the same as Paul. If it came down to Paul playing today, and Paul, I'm sure if you had to make a decision, you would be in a quandary. But at the end of the day, you would make the decision that's best for you and your family.
I'd play. I'm playing.
Paul's a grinder. And Paul, I bet you coach that way too. Let's just keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. That's how you end up playing 12 years in NBA. Let me just welcome our viewers here to the D.Gerv and Big Mo show. Skip Eddie's already checked in. Some young lady named Linda is checked in with us too so far tonight. Probably try to keep an eye on Paul. Hey, please text us your questions and comments, and we'll be sure to read them during the show. And we got some special guests that are going to be tuning in with us pretty soon, Paul. Do we want to give that away right now?
Sure. Let me, they should be joining us shortly. I just wanted to do a little intro. Pace and Nico Mannion. Pace is a very good friend of mine. We were teammates in Milwaukee. He's a very good basketball player. Played 6 years in the NBA, and then he played overseas, mostly in Italy, won a cup over there. He played at University of Utah, was all WAC player of the year before he got drafted 43rd. I was drafted 42nd, so that means I was probably a little better player than him. But
Sam Bowie and Michael Jordan.
I wouldn't go there. Pace was a very good player and underrated player. And then Nico, his son, who is a high school McDonald's All-American, a great high school career there in Phoenix. He was actually born in Italy, speaks Italian. He went to University of Arizona and has come out early. He was all Pac-12 at University of Arizona, and now he's into the draft. And he's projected to go anywhere from 10 to 20 or anywhere in that area. All I know is I watched Nico play right here in Vegas at the Pac-12 tournament before it was all shut down, and I've seen him on video, and I know his dad's personality. And in my opinion, Nico's, whatever pick he's going to go is going to be a steal of the draft, and someone's going to be very, very fortunate to have him on their team. So we're excited for them to be joining us, hopefully here really shortly. We got him, Ricky?
I want the young fella. Hey, Ricky, the young fella better bring it tonight because I'm bringing it. I'm so excited. I've been thinking. I'm going to tell everyone out there, as you know, my brother played this game for a lot of years. On my podcast with Ricky, we've had Dr. J, Dr. Robertson, Dick Vitale. Tonight, I'm excited. And I've talked to Paul about this young man. And the reason I'm really excited is because I watched his dad play. But Paul, when I found out that you knew Pace, that kind of brought him more into my spotlight. And he became like someone I wanted to get to know because I know what kind of man you are. But when I saw his son, we're going to talk about it today and I'm saying it earlier, making up the bed and all of that. The young man that comes from a very good background. And that's why I'm so excited to have him on the show. A special breed, a young man we got coming on the show.
And guys, both you guys went in the draft. And I know the draft is a lot different now than when you guys were drafted. But and now the draft has been pushed back, I think, to October.
Yes, October.
But was there a sense of anticipation as you waited, Paul and Derrick, where you're going to go, who you're going to end up playing with?
Go ahead, Paul.
Go ahead, D.
Oh, no, I'll be quick.
Before you get into that, D, Ricky, can you email Pace the connection again? You couldn't get on.
Okay, I'll do that.
Go ahead, D.
I didn't care about the draft. The thing was to get drafted. Your goal was to make your parents happy. They saw you, they were there with you from the beginning. They're the ones that took you to the games, sometimes when they even had other things to do. So my thing was just getting drafted, seeing George go like he did in the pros. And then when I got that call to be drafted, when my name was called, it was like striking gold. So that was good. That was like a blessing. So you never forget. Yeah,
I mean, growing up, you played like I played, just out on the street or in a backyard on a gym or whatever. And when ever since you're a little kid, you vision yourself number one of making the last second shot. 3, 2, 1, I made it. And number two, at least for me, and probably for you also, D, was, someday I want to play this as an NBA player, and play it as a professional. And then when that day comes, it's a special day. And then I I know what I felt when I got drafted. I felt like I got to get in great shape. I got to get there, and I got to make the team now, and then I got to stay on the team.
Well, Paul, you know the old school, when they talk about your walk, back in the day, I grew up in Detroit, they used to call it pimping. So if you remember Zion walking last year across that stage, that's what I miss seeing today. The Jalen Roses, the Chris Webbers, the Charles Barkley suits, and the Karl Malone. That's the part I miss. And for these guys to recognize that dream of being on stage. But just to be drafted is still something that you can't even explain it.
Hey, let me cut in for a second, Paul. Just let everybody know they're listening to D.Gerv and Big Mo, the former NBA players Derrick, Gervin, and Paul Mokeski. Paul let Pace know that email has been sent again to him, and you guys can finish that up where you were in the conversation.
Let's go, Mr. Utah. We ready.
Did you title it, Ricky?
Yeah, he should have it. I mean, the same thing I sent to you guys, he has.
And all you listeners, y'all need to really go ahead. I'm sorry, Ricky.
Hey, fellas, look who's here.
There they
Paul,
are.
Why don't you welcome our guests, Paul?
There they are. Hey, first of all, I did a little intro for you, and I gave you a bunch of props, Pace, so you owe me. But I want to thank both of you for hanging with us. We had little problems Monday, and we're very excited to have you guys on. I am, because, you know, like I said, Pace is a good friend of mine, and I was a very good player and teammate. And I know watching tape, and I told the listeners that I got to see you play, Nico, your last game, because I was at that. I ran into your dad, and my son and I were watching that game before they shut everything down. And, you know, I got to see firsthand, you know, the dad in you. But man, you're by far better than he was, for sure.
I can argue that. I tell him that all the
time. Shoot, both my sons don't even think I played it. No, they do.
How you doing, Pace?
I'm doing well.
Before
how you doing, Nick?
Good.
How are you, Paul?
Yeah, before we get started, Pace, I wanted to show you. I'm in my office. Can you see me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm in my office, and I have this picture. I'm at home in my office, and I have this picture, and it's you can see it. You know, it's when we play. There's Randy trying to get a block, Kareem's hook, and there's me coming in. You know, look how high I am. I'm up over the rim.
Actually, over the rim, dude.
And then look at, there's somebody there.
That's right where I was walking on the floor.
That's Pace. Get ready to get the rebound and bring it back down.
He's looking.
Go ahead, dude.
Hey, I want to introduce myself to you two gentlemen. Pace, it's a pleasure. You and Nico. First of all, I wanted to thank you guys. For Nico, I wanted to say, even before we get into the show, Nico, I kind of know where you're coming from, because your dad was a heck of a player. And I don't know if you know or not, my brother was a heck of a player, George Iceman Gervin.
Yep.
So I wanted to thank you for coming on the show, man. I got to tell you before we start, Paul and I have big goals, all right? So we want to take this show a long way. We don't try to hurt anybody, but I'm going to tell you, Stephen A. Smith think he's the man. You're going to find out you're on the show, the future show here. So, thank you for tuning in, my man, on a serious note. Thank you very much, both of you guys, for coming on the show.
Hey, your brother gave me a few buckets. And when I was in high school, he was the only poster I ever had in my room. And I'm sure you remember the one of him sitting on all the blocks of ice with the gray sweatsuit on. So that was, he was a hell of a player.
Pace, you're kind of in my situation, so I'm gonna be honest about it. I had suffered an injury. I was a starter at the time with the Nets. When I got hurt, they brought in Drazen Petrovic. Yeah, so you put in minutes, and I hope the people recognize. I know what kind of player you were, and scores recognize scores, or as they say, real recognize real. So I got to give you your props, man. I can't ever talk about Nico without letting know who paved the way for him.
Appreciate that.
Well,
Let me
Nico.
get everybody caught up. Let me get everybody caught up. And Nico and Paces is Ricky Hampton. I'm kind of the host of this show with these two great guys. We really appreciate you guys checking in. And we got comments and texts coming in from our Facebook listeners. But one question I wanted to have just start off with was Pace. Did you, when Nico decided to play basketball, did you tell him, do you want to play basketball, which I mean have fun, or do you want to play basketball and pursue it as a professional?
You know, it wasn't ever a question, to be honest. You know, Nico picked the ball up at a young age, and you know, third, fourth grade when he really started getting serious about it. And it wasn't, I never pushed him. I didn't have to. You know, my thing with Nico was, I think you need to take a day off once in a while, because as you get older, you realize your days off are as important as your work days. And it was hard to hold him back. But he was never been a guy that I had to say, hey, you could be really good and this could be a career. Not until he got, you know, high school age, where you could tell there was some talent. He'd started to grow a little bit. You still didn't know how big or how athletic he was going to get. But that's when those talks started to happen about, okay, you have a chance. You know, now it's up to you to what kind of work you put in, you know, what kind of kid you are, what kind of following you want, how you want people to treat you. Those were the things I tried to instill in him, and he's been great at that.
Nico, when you were coming up, when you were a child, all right, I'm gonna go back a little bit, because to me, all this stuff is important. Being around my brother all these years, and I was around Dr. J when I was like 9. So when your dad and your mom, I gotta bring your mom, your beautiful mom in here, my man. When she had you and your dad, they had you making up that bed before you can go outside. Do you think that kind of impacted your career as far as knowing what it took to be a young man, the other things they were trying to instill in you that were going to be more important for you, that were going to be lessons for life?
Definitely. Ever since I was little, my parents have kind of taught me the little things are important, just as important as the big things. My parents always preach on the details. So growing up, the little chores around the house I always had to do. And as I started to get more of a following, get some offers and stuff, my mom made sure I stayed humbled, saying, you know, you're just like every other kid still. You still got to do your chores, take out the trash, do the dishes, and still make your bed. So they've always been really good about that. And like I said, they preach the details, and I think it's been just great life lessons for me.
Paul.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in right here because you know, I was kind of, you know, in a situation where, you know, my two sons, one's 6'8", one's 7 foot, and they played overseas for a little bit. But I remember, and this is kind of for both you guys, I remember, you know, I'm coaching with the Mavericks and working with Derrick and Nash and those guys, and I would get home and, you know, see if the sons wanted to work out, and they go, nah, Dad, you're just Dad. Let me go work out over here. And you know, so having the dad thing and the player thing and the son thing is a good balance that you have to have. And from what I know, and I know your dad real well, you know, you guys have done a great job with that.
Yeah, no. I mean, I remember stories back from when I was little. We'd finish games and get in the car, and the drive home would either be no words at all, or we'd start arguing because I thought I was playing hard or I did well or playing defense, and he's like, no, you didn't play hard. You can play harder. I still remember those car drives to and from the gyms, just like they were yesterday, really. But he's been great. Like you said, he's never really had to push me. I mean, I love the game and I take it serious now, but even when I didn't, I just loved being in the gym and loved being around basketball. And he grew up working for the Jazz, so I was always in the arena before the games, 2-3 hours before everybody else, and I got to go down and watch the guys warm up and stretch. And I think that was big for me also, just seeing that it's not only about the games and seeing it's not only when there's people in the gym that you perform, really, because they were in there 2-3 hours before the game, working out, stretching, taking care of their bodies. So me seeing that at a young age was also really good for me. But back to the question, both my parents have been great.
I think you hit on it, Mo. I think the biggest thing as a parent, you know, it goes a long way that we played. So your kids have to give you a little bit of credit. And when I say little, I mean little, because that's what I got. But as other people would start to talk to Nico and give him advice, he would always just glance at me because it was things he'd already heard, but they seemed to mean more when they came from somebody else. And I think the biggest thing we always worked with Nico on was accountability. Just be accountable for what you do on and off the court. That was the big message all the time. If you lose a game, you don't blame teammates. You don't blame, hey, look at yourself, look in the mirror. What could you have done better? And let's get better at that. And he's taken that to heart from day one. He's the one thing I can say about Nico and watching him grow through this process is he's a great teammate, you know, and his teammates love to play with him. He shares the basketball, he leads, he does the things that you want of a point guard, but he's just, and he's a likable kid, you know, most of the time as a dad. I'll keep him around for a little while, at least another 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, you could have signed that big contract. You can keep him around for a long time.
Yeah, he told me he's bailing out the minute he gets his deal done.
Wow.
Hey, Pace, I'm gonna put your son on the spot. Paul and I talk a lot of basketball. So, Nico, you ready?
Ready.
I know you worked out at this game. You've been working out, and I saw you working out a little bit. I know you got a very good trainer. You get ready to head into the NBA, right? And we know you're gonna be there. And you know, we keep our fingers crossed. I believe you're gonna have a great career. You got the new era, all right? You got Colin Sexton. You got Darius Garland. You got Kobe White. These guys coming in, right? Then on the other end of the spectrum, you got the veterans, the Chris Pauls, the Kyries, and the Stephs. Do you see your game? I know you're going to have to get physically stronger as the game goes, but you know that comes with maturity as you play. Do you see your game as more of a scorer, or are you more of a facilitator scorer? You more of like, say, Isaiah Thomas. You're familiar with Isaiah Thomas.
Right.
The original Isaiah Thomas could score. Your dad knows if you needed 30 points, he could get you that. If you needed 10 assists, he could get you that. Where do you see your game, and what do you think you're going to have to work on the most?
You know, that's a good question. I think I'm a unique blend, honestly. I mean, I think I make the right basketball play. So whatever the right basketball play is, what I'm going to try to do. But I think I'm capable of both. I mean, I think if you need 30, I can go out and get you 30. If you need 10 assists, I can do that as well. So, like I said, I think I'm just a unique blend of both of those.
Good answer. I
Hey,
agree.
we got a question for you, Pace, from Jordan M. Queen. Thank you for watching and commenting, Jordan. Hey, Pace, what was it like playing with the Bad Boys in Detroit? What were the Bad Boy practices like during your time in Detroit, Pace?
You know, I was there for a short stint. That first year they won the championship because I was coming off an injury and I was playing in the CBA. So I was only there for a month when Joe Dumars broke his hand. And Chuck Daly was very clear on, you're only going to be here for a month. He said, once Joe's healthy, you're out of here. But they were, you know, it was an older group. And so practices were actually pretty light. Practices were good. They were hard when they needed to be for about, you know, a 45-minute stint. But, you know, he had some veterans on that team playing a lot of minutes. So there wasn't a lot of, you know, 2-hour practices, more detail work with Daly. He was very good at mentally preparing guys and getting on the guys he needed to get on, and then, you know, patting the guys on the butt that needed the pats. He was very good about not treating everybody the same, which I think goes a long way. You know, a lot of coaches think you need to treat everybody the same way, and I'm a firm believer in different personalities need different things. And I think that's what made, you know, Coach Daly who he was and as successful as he was with that unique group of talent and personalities.
Compare that group to the Bucks group, Pace.
You know, that Bucks group we had, that was probably the best team I played on besides, I mean, I don't count that Pistons team because I was only there a short time, but that year with the Bucks, we had, you know, with you and Jack, TC, Terry Cummings, John Lucas, Paul Presti, Sidney Moncrief, you know, Ricky Pierce. We had a blend of scorers and guys that could facilitate and do all the things we needed. And that was a team I thought could make a deep run in the playoffs. And it was a fun team to be on as well. A good group of guys, you know, worked hard. You know, Terry was always Terry. You know, if Terry came in the green or red shoes, he wasn't practicing. You remember those, you know, it was just, but it was, and Dale wasn't a real disciplinarian. You know, Dale wanted to be the hard guy, but he just didn't have it in him. But, you know, I thought he did a good job with what he had. And, you know, Dunleavy was an assistant that year. And that was a great group of guys. That was one of my best seasons in the NBA playing with that group. You know, we had some times too.
Yeah, I think Nico, have him tell you about New Year's Eve one time, but that's another show.
That's not a show. That's a personal story.
Yeah, and I think like Del Harris was, like, we called him the professor. And then I had a chance to play for Chuck Daly just for a little while, but got to talk to him later in his career. He was very smart, but more of in a personable way, I think. And get either way as a coach, you got to get the best out of your players and as a team. And I think both of them did it in a different way, but very effective.
Yeah, I agree with
And we got a question for Nico and a comment. Nico, Demetrius said you've been killing it. He loves watching you play and to keep it up. And our good friend Skip Eddie wants to know who's the best player you played against in college?
Ooh. Best player. I think the best player I played against this year was probably Onyeka Okongwu, the big kid from USC. Potential top 5-10 pick. And, it's crazy. I've been playing against him since we were in 6th, 7th grade, going to California, playing in those little AAU tournaments. So me and him have been pretty close for a while. And it's cool to see how good he's gotten. He's really putting a lot of work, and he was one of the best bigs in the Pac-12 this year.
Nico, thank you, Skip. That's a question you're going to get for the draft. Here's another one you'll get. Compare your game to somebody playing now in the NBA.
Oh, my favorite player is Damian Lillard. I think we have some similarities, but I don't think there's anyone in the game I try to really model my game after, and there's no one I really say I'd play just like. But if there's someone that I'd like to play like, it'd be Damian Lillard. I love the way he plays and love the way he carries himself on the floor.
Yeah.
You Nico, you're going to have this is my question now. When you play against some of these quick guys that can slide their feet, right?
Yeah.
And you made some of the moves you made in college, and those guys are still there. How long you think it's going to take before you make the adjustment as far as learning to, as your dad knows, the NBA, as a point guard, you're going to have to learn to keep your dribble.
Right.
How long you think it'll be? What do you think your process? I know you've already been going over these things, and you have a very high basketball IQ, but do you feel pretty confident about your abilities to pick up this game quickly?
I really do. Funny story, going into college, as a 17, 18-year-old kid, I was thinking to myself, I know it's going to be hard. I know it's going to take some adjustment, but I told my dad, I was like, it'll probably take 2-3 weeks and I'll be good. And I got to college, it probably took more like 2 months. The first 2 months I was calling him like, dude, this is hard. And I really didn't turn the corner for about 2 or 3 months to where I really felt comfortable and got fully adjusted to the speed of the game and the strength and the athleticism. But I think there's just, as a basketball player, I think I'm a smart player. So I think I'll be able to figure it out. I don't know how long it'll take, but I think I'll be able to do it.
Nico, can you touch base with us a little bit? It's a unique situation what the whole world is in now, with what's going on, and it's affected your career, everyone's life, but your career, because you can't go to the pre-draft workouts and you can't do all that. But at the same time, you are working out. Can you touch base on who you're working out with? What are you working on? And from what I hear, one of it is gaining strength and you're making progress there. Can you touch base on those?
Yeah, so I have a basketball trainer named Vaughn Compton. He's based out here in Phoenix, and I've been working with him since I was 13 years old, 14 years old, since we moved here. And he's been great for me. And he did some of the pre-draft stuff last year for a couple agencies. So he's a great trainer. I've been with him for a while, and I've just stuck with him because he's like my big brother. And then I'm working out at Exos lifting. So like you said, strength for me is one of the bigger things I've been focusing on. And since I've got back from college, I think I've put on about 15 pounds. I'm up to almost about 195, gotten a lot stronger. I'm lifting more weight, and I still feel really good on the floor. I still feel quick, jumping the same, moving the same. So I think that's been the biggest thing for me. And I think with this added time until the draft, I think I'll only have more time to just get better in the weight room and get better on the floor.
Yeah, I saw you.
Get everybody caught up, Paul. You're watching D.Gerv and Big Mo with former NBA players Derrick, Gervin, and Paul Mokeski. We're joined by one of Paul's former teammates in Milwaukee, Pace Mannion, and his son Nico, who's going to be a first-round draft pick in the upcoming draft. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, to finish that up, Nico, basketball-wise, I see you're working off shooting off the dribble, things like that. Anything else you're focusing on? Like D.Gerv said, you know, now when you're going to go into that lane, there are going to be bigger bodies there, and they're going to be there before you. Are you working on a floater, stuff like that?
Yeah, floater. That's really one of my favorite shots. I shot it a lot this past year.
Off the glass too, Paul. Come on, man. Gervin style, off the glass, off the window.
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite shots. I've been working on that for a while. Especially before college, we had me and my trainer Vaughn hit on that pretty hard. Just knowing, like you said, going from high school to college, there's that jump. There's gonna be bigger bodies, better athletes in the lane. So that was something I really worked on. But we just continue to work on that. We work on a lot of ball screen stuff, passing off the dribble, and then obviously shooting off the dribble is what we're really hitting on hard right now.
If you go back and when we had Ice on, one of the things he really mentioned that he really worked on and was effective for him is the in-between game that is forgotten today. Everybody's shooting threes or going to the basket, which is great. Analytics, I work for the Rockets. I know what that all is. But being an effective mid-range shooter, because like he put it, he said, you know, when I started doing that, no one was there. You know, I was wide open. You know, so I would encourage that and you know, to find that little niche for you.
For sure, yeah. No, we've worked on that for sure, but I'll definitely hit harder on it.
I think they hit hard on that because I watched some of his training, and you know as well better than anybody, Mo, because you coached in the league. Was, you know, those bigs on the pick and rolls, they're just dropping. A lot of times they just drop and take away the layup. They're going to give you the floater or the 15-footer, and so that's a shot that he's worked on for a long time. But I think that's like you said, it's a lost art, mostly because of analytics. Nobody gets on Chris Paul for taking that right elbow jumper, you know, 90% of the time because he can get there when he wants. So that's just if you're good at it, you know, DeMar DeRozan made a living. Now he's starting to shoot some more threes, but those are guys you watch and think they made a living with that mid-range jumper. And I think, you know, if you can score at all three levels, which Nico's trying to work on through this summer process and the extra 3 or 4 months he's going to get before the draft, it's just a benefit for some of these guys to be able to do that.
I worked with one of the best, Steve Nash. He was phenomenal. And he would put that ball right in front of the big guy's face and flip it over him, piss him off.
Hey, Paul, Nico, if you look at all the guys that shoot, your dad was talking about the mid-range. If you look at the guys that really shoot the mid-range, all their teams are winning teams, and they're stars. The Kawhis, the KDs. You there, Ricky?
Yeah.
You all right? Yeah. Paul, can you hear me, Nico?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Okay. The Kevin Durant's, the Kawhi Leonard's. That, you know, they talk about the in-between game. A lot of times now, you know, they drive baseline. The guards are expected to drive and kick it to the corner and all that stuff. But I'm going to tell you what I think, Nico, and I could be wrong, but it's even like on the 8-to-5 job. I was always told that the more things you can do, the more valuable you are. So if you can shoot the layup, the three, the mid-range, and the three, that opens up everything for you, and it opens up everything for your team. So never let anyone make you where to the point you become predictable. I'm a guy that believe, I'm from a scoring family. Every adjustment the defense makes, you be ready to make adjustment accordingly. And there's no coach can teach that. That's something that the special guys have in them.
For sure.
Hey, I got a comment here, and I think you're gonna like hearing this, Pace. I saw Nico live at Hoop Summit and got to talk to him. Real nice kid, and completely on the game, very humble. And I think that's important to be that way. Is that part of growing and developing a player as a dad, Pace, having a humble kid and just a good person?
You know, I think that's to me, that's more important than the basketball side. That's what we've talked about since, you know, Nico touched on it a little bit earlier of, you know, the details. You know, we taught Nico as he started to get notarized and getting all these people would know who he was when he came into all the tournaments everywhere. And, you know, it was like, hey, you really get to teach people how you want to be treated. You know, Nico, you walk in a gym and all the kids that are sitting there getting ready to play games can say, hey, there's Nico. He's really good. Let's go hang out with him because we like him. Or they say, hey, he's really good, but I don't want to go talk to him because he's a jerk. You know, treat everybody with respect, be nice to everybody, give everybody the time that you have. and things will always be okay. You know, there's going to be times you don't have time to talk to people. There's going to be times you don't have time to take a picture or sign an autograph. But I think he learned all those things growing up, and he's been very respectful of everybody that's ever come up and wanted to spend time with him. And it's something as parents, you know, we're always proud to hear, and we get those stories all the time. And, you know, we heard him at the Hoop Summit, you know, from some of the directors there that, you know, he was just a great kid to have around. He was always there to help after practice and do what he needed to do. And, you know, the icing on the cake was he performed very well that game, you know, for the world team. And it was a fun game to watch.
Yeah,
Hey, Paul, let me step in for 1 second, Nico, before you say something, because I want to change it up just for a second. I heard you and your dad. I watched the interview, all right? And I want people to know this, because Pace is a scorer. I've been a scorer. You were playing when you, I believe you were 18 years old. You were with Michael Porter. I'm hoping people know who Michael Porter is, the Denver Nuggets. Can you tell us a story about you playing with those guys and you getting this one opportunity, one shot, man? Come on, you talking to a Gervin here. Explain that to me.
I think I was 16 or 7. I think I was 16. It was at the USA mini camps, and I think it was my first time going to USA camps. So I get there, and we're with the older group. So it's Colin Sexton, Trey Duval, Trey Young, Michael Porter, all these top guys from, I think, 2 or 3 years older than us. And my team was me, Wendell Carter, Trey Duval, and Michael Porter. And so I'm a point guard, and I wasn't even bringing the ball up. So that was already a shock. And then, I mean, I touched the ball here and there, and you know how it is. It's a camp, so it's not really structured. We're not running plays. We're not doing anything crazy. But I remember I got one shot, and it was because there was literally nobody guarding me. So I caught it. I shot the three, and Mike just looked at me. He's like, "Hey, pass the ball." I'm like, I was just kind of confused. I was like, my one shot was wide open. It was like a 5-on-4. Someone was down at the other end. And I missed it, but that was pretty much the only time I got a shot the whole weekend in the live.
Your dad will tell, go get the ball, damn it.
Hey, it was rough watching that weekend because he was with a group of guys that, let me tell you, there was not a lot of passing going on. Whoever rebounded it was letting it go at the other end. So, but it was, you know, like you say, those are all experiences as a player you have to go through, you know. And it was like I told them, remember those things as you get to be the guy that's at camp and is the veteran and the rookie coming in. How did you get treated? How do you want to be treated? And how do you want to treat those guys? Because it goes full circle. You know, you're always, it's easy when you're on the way up. You know, how you're going to be remembered coming down that ladder is another thing.
Yeah, I actually got another story about that. Going back to how you want to be treated and being humble. I learned that when I was young, obviously from my parents. But a cool story I have is after, I think it was Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals in Utah. The Lakers had just beat the Jazz in Utah. And I told my dad, I was like, I want to meet Kobe. And I think I was probably 9 or 10 at the time. And I go down. He's like, go down in the tunnel if you want to try to see him. He's like, it's going to be crowded. There's going to be a bunch of people. But he said, if you want to get his attention, say something in Italian. He speaks Italian. I go down to the tunnel, and Kobe's the last one to come out of the locker room. He's got an all-white suit on, and I don't remember what I said, but I said something in Italian, and he kind of looked and came over to me and just got on a knee and talked to me for about 10 minutes and talked to me about everything from school to basketball to life to literally everything you think about. So 10 minutes for me, I'm talking to, in my opinion, is my favorite player, in my opinion, the best player. So that was a real eye-opener for me because when I started to have kids coming up to me asking for pictures or autographs, I always kind of have that in the back of my mind because someone like Kobe, who was the best player in the world at the time, took 10 minutes out of his day to talk to me, who little 10-year-old kid, you know. So that's something I always have in the back of my mind, and that's kind of a cool story I like to share just because he's my idol, and it was just a real eye-opener for me.
And you thought a lot of his daughter as well, I know.
What'd you say?
I said you thought a lot of his daughter as well.
Yeah. I never got to meet Gianna, but seeing some of her videos, she looked like she had a real chance. She was a great player, and I mean, prayers up for Kobe and Gianna.
That is a great story, Nico. And we got a comment here from Nolan. He wants to know, what song do you get pumped up on before you hit the floor?
I wouldn't say I have a certain song. I mean, if you ask me when we're in the car, I switch the song every minute or two. I can't even finish one. So, I mean, my favorite artist is probably Drake. Anything by him will get me going.
Come on, Pace.
Come
Get up
on.
some Earth, Wind, and Fire or some Commodores. Come
No,
on, man.
Paul, we doing
Come
little
on,
baby.
old school.
Hey,
Old school.
I tried, Mo. It didn't work.
Hey, Paul, we doing little baby today, man. Little baby today. No, none of those other people.
Hey, I got a question for you two guys. Nico, you made a big decision to enter the NBA draft. I know college, it was fun. You were playing great. How tough was that decision for you? And how did you guys go through the process of making that decision?
I mean, for me, it was a hard decision, but at the end of the day, it's been my goal since I started taking basketball serious. Ever since I really started playing and working for it. I mean, so it's been years now that playing in the NBA has been my biggest dream, really. So when the opportunity presents, I kind of just told myself I'm going to be ready to do it whenever that is. So it presented itself, and we sat down and talked about it. But it's really just a dream come true because that's something I've been dreaming of and working for since I was young.
Did you rely on your college coach with your dad combination to get the information that led you to that decision?
Kind of a combination. I think we talked as a family first, and then we kind of had our decision in mind. And then I had gone back down to Tucson and met with Coach Miller and just got everything confirmed. And he handled it great. He was great through the whole process. And I mean, from there we just ended the draft.
Because so many players now take advice from the wrong people, and you're fortunate that your dad has been through it. And you know they come out too early, and then they end up going overseas, and who knows what's happened. But you know, I think it's important that young players like trust your family, trust your college coach, trust people you know that know the business that can actually make a call and call an NBA team. You can, with the relationships, you can call an NBA team and say, hey, where do you have him on the board? Stuff like that is so important.
Well, they have all the colleges have the coaches have to send out start your pre-draft stuff really, and they just send it out, and every team has to respond to it. And it will give you a percentage of, you're either from 1 to 14 or 15 to 30, and they give you a percentage of where you're at. So Nico was about 60-40. But it was 100% first round. So the feedback was all positive and good that you're going to go in the first round. Now it's just depending on where, and so now we just hope that there's some things that he gets to get some individual workouts in, some personal interviews, some of those things, because I think those guys that want to spend that kind of money on a player, you want to see him not just on film. I think a lot of these guys like to get some of these kids in and at least get a look at them.
Have you had any kind of update or word on when that might happen? Now that the NBA is supposedly coming back in July and the draft is now, later in the fall, do you have an indication of when they'll be able to bring Nico in to take a look?
Well, everything right now is very fluid, talking to everybody. But what I've heard is if they're going to do it, it would be, that first to second week of September to get some of these guys in for that, since that'll give them the month to make decisions on the draft and where they're going to go. But those things I think would help Nico tremendously. Like you said, he's gone from 180 to 195. He still is just as fast. He's still jumping high as he was. All those things he's always had. But it's nice to be able to put that weight on and do it in a good way with some good trainers. And he's got obviously mom here is cooking the Italian food, so it's all good food, and he's done it gradually in the last few months. So it's been a good progress.
Nico, how are you dealing with that? Because really you should be, would the draft have been this weekend? Is that,
I think.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah. And then you would have a team, and then you'd sign a contract, then you'd be going to summer league and all that process. But now it's off for 2, 3, 4 months. How are you dealing with that?
Yeah, it's definitely been weird, but I mean, I really have nothing to compare it to. I haven't been through this process before, so it's almost normal in a sense. Just because it's what's going on. It's my first time going through it. It just seems normal to me. But the draft getting pushed back, I mean, we knew it was going to get pushed back, and now that there's a date, makes it a lot easier just to have a date in mind know that there's an exact date, because before it was just we knew it was going to get pushed back. We didn't know till when. And I still don't think there's going to be a combine, and obviously no summer league. So that's hard to hear, because those are experiences that I'd love to have. But I mean, with the circumstances in the world right now, it's just not what's going to happen. But I've just been trying to take it day by day. Honestly, now that there's a deadline, finally something to look forward to. But just trying to take it day by day and get better day by day.
Well, I heard you. I talked to your dad the other day, and you signed up with Bill Duffy, and I've known him like your dad for many times, and there's not a better guy that can help you through this process. So I'm really happy about that.
For sure, thank you. Yeah, he's a great dude.
Hey guys,
Nico.
we
Go
just
ahead,
hold on just a second there. Let me just get everybody caught up. We just got a few more minutes left here on the D.Gerv and Big Mo show with former NBA players Derrick, Gervin, and Paul Mokeski, and we're joined by former NBA player Pace Mannion and his son Nico. We really appreciate you guys visiting with us tonight. Go ahead, Derrick.
I wanted to thank everybody for tuning in. First of all, it's been a great show already. And so thank everybody for tuning in, and I hope you're staying safe. Nico, I'm one of those guys, man, that believe, you're going to be a rookie. So you're going to have some rookie lumps. And that happens to even the greatest of them. So my advice to you is, I see you come from a good background. You just go out, man, and I'm one of those guys that believe. I'm a trainer as well in San Antonio, and I train kids, man. I'm one of those guys, when you make a mistake, don't be looking at me. I expect you to make a mistake because you're human being. My thing is, and it's a lesson as well, what are you going to do to make up for it? So you're going to have your lumps. You're going to be dealing with a lot of great players, as you know. But you go out, man, and just find a way, make the corrections. If things don't go well on Monday, try to be a better man on Tuesday. Try to be a better ball player on Tuesday. And that's the way you live the rest of your career. I know Pace, I'm sure you're familiar with Tobias Harris and his dad.
Of course.
To Terrell Harris, Pace?
I don't know him personally, but I know who.
Guys, Terrell and Tobias are guys that I've known. And I see you in that mode. It's a very good young man. And you just take it day by day. And when things are going to come good for you, man, just work hard, continue to do like you're doing. And I think the sky's the limit for you, man. I just wanted to wish you the best, man. And I'm really in your corner.
Thank you. It means a lot. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Just a couple more minutes left on D.Gerv and Big Mo. Hey, Pace, looking at your career and the era that you guys played in, and how the game has evolved to today, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the biggest evolution, I think, is one, athletes are better. Two, I think the guys have become more skilled. The ball handling, the trainers everybody has now to become better with the ball in their hands and be able to create more one-on-one situations. That wasn't there were guys that did it in the NBA, but if you go back and watch games, and Nico's watched some of the old games that we would see, and he'd say, why didn't they shoot that? Or why didn't he take that shot? Because it wasn't the first look that we were looking for. We were looking to get it to somebody else. And nowadays it's not like that. And that's the biggest thing I see is, there's fewer plays, there's fewer sets, there's more one-on-one. They're just spreading the floor, playing pick and roll, and taking care of they've got such great players and athletes and shooters around the floor. I think the best thing to do is spread it and let guys do what they do. And I think, that's the biggest difference I see.
Michael Strahan is checking in. Just want to say how much he's enjoying the show. And Pace and Nico are quality people, and they wish you guys all the best.
Thank you.
Hey, if we get back to that, I know we're running out of time. Nico, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Italian national team. I know you played for them. I've been lucky enough to coach the Jamaican national team and then the Great Britain national team and all the way up to the Olympics. And I love international basketball, and I love that game. Are you planning on continuing on with the Italian national team and in the future? And how did you enjoy that?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to playing with them again whenever that opportunity comes. And like you said, it's a fun style of basketball. It's different, totally different from how we play over here. And that was the biggest thing for me, is learning that style. And of course, when I played with the men's team, I was with a bunch of grown men. I mean, I think the next youngest guy was about 23, 24 years old. So that was hard for me as a 17-year-old kid, just being with, I wasn't with kids my age. I mean, the stuff they're talking about was just, they got families at home, talking about taking care of their families, still a baby in the house. So it was fun though. I had a good time, learned a lot. It's just a totally different style. So for me, the biggest thing was just learning as much as I could and bringing that back.
Yeah, that's the one thing I noticed. You know, people don't understand. I love international basketball, and I got to see Spain and France and Lithuania and all those teams played. You know, and I got to scout those teams, and they don't realize how physical the guard play is. Guards are getting manhandled. I used to get so mad at our guards because, you know, those big Lithuanian dudes or whatever come out and set a pick on them, and they would get out of the way, and then they give up the penetration. I'm saying, you need to run into that dude. Just run into him once.
I had some low to the Italian team practice, and the screens over there are deadly. I mean, I remember getting hit a couple times, like just shaking up. They really set their screens.
Well, plus they don't all moving screens a lot.
Yeah.
You know, the European, that international ball, there's not a lot of moving picks called, so it just makes it difficult. But that's one of the things that I think was good for him to learn is, hey, if you can get around these and fight over these, you're going to be okay. Because it's, you know, in the NBA and in college, those are all fouls. But over there, they just didn't call a lot of that. But what Nico learned was, I think the biggest thing and you've seen it too, Paul, they don't have all the athletes we have. So ball movement, the way they pass, penetrate, kick, and just redo it and redo it and redo it until they find the shot they want is not something. The only team that you can really look at here that does any of that would be the Warriors, you know, because they put all those guys on the perimeter. They can all penetrate, they can all handle, they can all shoot. And that's what international ball has become. But it's a great style of play. And I can see, I mean, I loved watching it too. And I can see why I was in Italy for 13 years, so I played it for a long time, but it's a fun basketball.
I watched Lithuania play. They would run 5 different motions to get into what they really want to run. Right. You know, I'm like, so much movement. And I know, Nico, you ran those handoffs, big on small handoffs, and they nail you with that, man.
Yep.
Just a couple more minutes
great
here.
show, man.
Just a couple more minutes here on D.Gerv and Big Mo. Kayvon sends a shout out to Big Mo, and Linda wishes Nico all the luck in the world. Nico, you're getting a lot of fans here on the D.Gerv and Big Mo show, man. I can tell you that. Any final thoughts, guys?
Go ahead, D.
Well, for me, Ricky, I don't really have too many final thoughts. It's been a great show. I'm just excited. My main thing is to thank Pace and Nico for coming back and making this a splendid week after all. I told, you know, sometimes things happen. But once again, thanks to credit to Paul for being the type of guy he is. I just want to thank these guys for coming on the show. Hopefully we can talk to them again. I'm going to keep watching Nico throughout your career, and I wish you well. And I mean that sincerely, my man. Go out and get them.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you guys for having us.
Thanks, dude.
Hey, Nico, I sent him some footage, and he kept texting me. Man, that guy can play. That guy, I said, no, I told you he can play. Oh, man. You know, Pace, you know, you're my brother. I love you, a friend forever. Nico, you got fans right here that are going to push for you. You're on the right path. Keep doing the right things. And I always tell all my players, little things make a big difference. And you're already in that path right there. And stay there no matter what happens. Really, thanks for coming on, guys. Really enjoyed having you on.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much, guys. Good luck to you, Nico. We're going to be cheering for you from here.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you, guys. I appreciate
it, guys.
Thank you so much.
Take care, fellas.
You guys have a good night.
All right.
Man, that was
Take care, Paul,
fantastic. Derrick and Paul, those two young men were just outstanding. And we want to thank all our viewers for checking in. So many people were commenting. I hope we got to all of them. You know, we'll be here every Monday. We had to do it a different day this week, but we'll be here every Monday. We're going to try to bring you more interviews with the newsmakers in the world of basketball. And Paul, any final thoughts?
Yeah, remember, you can watch replays on YouTube and Facebook Live. Not live, but recorded. Please subscribe and like us. And next week, we have another great guest. John Lucas is coming on next. He's a mentor of mine. Derrick, you know him well, one of the best players ever, and
Derrick?
Great weekend.
Hey, man, this has been fantastic. Thanks to all our viewers out there. We really appreciate your support. And we'll see you next Monday. D.Gerv and Big Mo. Ricky Hampton. Peace out.
Peace
Good night,
out.
everybody.
Buenas noches.